So Tom Thibodeau is out as the head coach of the T-Wolves. 19-21 in the season they are. Currently, Ryan Saunders is going to be taking over as the coach. Who knows if that'll be a long-term thing. We've heard rumors of Fred Hoiberg and all that. So I think the first thing to make note of, to me, is what is this all going to do for KarlAnthony Towns? Because Towns has not shot the ball enough pretty much ever since he got in the NBA. I guess you could say his rookie season he got the fair number of attempts, and his second year as well, but especially last year with Jimmy Butler, and then even this year with Jimmy not being here, I think Towns still hasn't really been shooting enough, although it has been a little different the past 5 games or so. I think a lot of that had to do with Thibodeau's offensive system, which was pretty basic. We hope that with whatever coach is coming in now, Towns can really be unleashed. I think in one way is from the three-point line. This year he's attempting 4.5 threes a game. I don't know why Towns wouldn't be shooting 7 to 8 threes a game. I mean, sure, you still want to give him some offensive rebound opportunities, but in situations like when he's on the break and he can just pull up from like at the top of the key, I think those are fine opportunities for threes. But I think also just being in the, spacing out the half court as much as possible can be huge as well, because bigs have to respect Towns when he's out there, and I think Cat is the kind of guy where if you're using him just moderately well and assuming that the rest of the talent is okay, I feel like it's almost a guarantee that you can be a top 10 offense, because he really is that good and he is that much of a threat from everywhere, where just simply having him move off the ball more often, cutting from the corner to the, to the low post, maybe forcing a switch, having him at the elbow and having action around that, more handoff plays, more basic pick and pops and things like that, and then just random off-ball things that I can't think of. That should be the bare minimum with KarlAnthony Towns, and I think Tom Thibodeau wasn't all the way there on that kind of stuff. Not to say he didn't do it at all, but he definitely should have done it a lot more than he did. Also, not playing a guy like Taj Gibson next to Towns so much would probably be a good idea as well. I would expect, whether it's Ryan Saunders or some new coach, to hopefully realize that having another big next to Towns who can space could make you kind of impossible to defend. Whether Dario Saric is that guy or not, we'll have to see, but I understand the counter to that is, well, the defense. I will get to Towns' defense a little later on. I will just say now, I'm not saying never play him with a big who can defend. I'm saying don't do it almost all the time that Towns plays. You can have a mix of the two. These were all things on top of course, the minutes and the hard-nosed mentality that eventually led to Thibodeau being out, and who knows if Tibbs is going to get another job, because I think the reasons he got fired in Chicago, granted there were injuries, but a lot of those reasons I think carried over to Minnesota as well, so that'll be interesting to see. I think a new coach for Wiggins could also be good as well, because perhaps Wiggins moving around a little bit more could be huge as well. I mean, we give Wiggins crap for all the pull-up mid-rangers and not really improving on his three-point shot and not getting to the free throw line enough and not grabbing enough offensive rebounds. And a lot of that is sound criticisms, because you just watch the guy play basketball for 6 minutes and it seems like he's just a regular guy. But perhaps a coach not necessarily yelling at him and then giving him basic offensive sets, but more supporting him a little bit more and then giving him more advanced stuff could be huge as well, whether that's moving off the ball, having the ball in his hands even more often in pick and rolls or whatever. I don't think Andrew Wiggins is totally done in terms of how good he's going to be. I mean, he's 23 years old. I know he's been a disappointment, but you hope a new coach can light some fire under him. And then outside of those two, I mean, between Derrick Rose, Covington, Saric, Taj Gibson, all these guys, I expect those guys to kind of fall into place as long as Towns and Wiggins are being used the right way. I guess the one outlier for those could be D. Rose, because he can force the issue himself, and who knows if he's going to be here now, because, I mean, he was Tibbs' guy, right? And I don't know how the new everything is going to view him. The new coach, the new GM, who is right now, I believe it's Scott Layden or Scott Lehman, who was really bad for the Knicks way back in the early 2000s. But whoever they're going to be, I don't know if they're going to see Derrick Rose in their long-term plans. And I guess that's where I want to move on from here, which is now, how is this going to affect the front office? Because, of course, Tibbs was also the president of basketball operations, and the guy made moves that were centered around winning right now. He also just wanted a lot of his Bulls players back. And, I mean, look, D. Rose has worked out. Taj Gibson has been fine for them. But it will be interesting to see now just what kind of route do the new people in charge, whoever they will be next season, year after that, and whatever, what are they going to want to do? Are they going to want to put Towns and Wiggins around young guys? Because those two are still 23 years old each. Or do you want to do what Tibbs was doing, which was get veterans around them and try to maximize how good they can be? I mean, I think if you go that route, then you're either hoping that you can get another type of Jimmy Butler, someone who could be that, I guess, third star, if we're considering, well, Wiggins is not a star, so I guess the second star, and then you hope Wiggins can be the third one. Or do you try to find that third guy via draft picks and all that stuff? I mean, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they want to do. I think having Covington and Saric here for probably the foreseeable future is pretty good. I mean, Covington, we all know the impact that he's had for them, and I think Saric is not done improving. And I think a new coach who perhaps likes three-pointers and perimeter stuff a little bit more than Tibbs could be really good for Saric as well. The other thing that could be wild, and this is me jumping off the cliff a little bit, but I'm going to go for it anyway. What are the chances that a new regime doesn't totally love Andrew Wiggins? Because, of course, we see the potential, and of course we know he's only 23, so the idea of moving on from him and trading him for whatever, I think most people would not do it, but I think there's some who would, and, I mean, you never know with NBA front offices, man. Just throwing it out there. Now, if I can get back to the on-court product, everything I'm saying doesn't really matter if KarlAnthony Towns doesn't play defense. In the last 15 games, Towns' personal defensive rating, which I do care about because he's a center, is about 108, and a defensive rating of 108 would put you at about 13th, 14th in the NBA as a team. That's pretty okay. I mean, if Towns can make you a top 5 offense, and I do think he is that good, then if you can just be respectable on defense, that's quite a team. So I do think there's a chance for this team to be pretty alright. Now, the depth still needs to improve, and we'll see if the front office is able to do that. I mean, the Wolves have all of their draft picks moving forward. They have most of their second-round picks as well. We'll see if they can nail some of those picks. They do have a decent amount of young guys on the team between not CJ Williams, he's old, between Bates Diop and Jared Terrell, Josh Okogie, who's looked all right through parts of this season. We'll see if one of these guys ends up hitting. And, of course, on top of Wiggins and Towns, who are also pretty young themselves. And, yeah, I mean, from here on, we're just going to have to see. Again, I think whoever they have as their coach, whether it's Fred Hoiberg or the new guy or whoever, just realize what you have in KarlAnthony Towns, shoot more threes, run more perimeter-oriented stuff, and from there it's, I don't know, just don't make any dumb moves. A good example of a dumb move would be the contract that they gave to Gorgui Dieng, which is killing them to this day. I mean, if Gorgui was not on this team, then they would have a decent amount of space to do some stuff in free agency this season. But unfortunately, there's just a big fat $16 million just killing them from going out there and making a signing. I mean, to be fair, they will have some cap space, but between deciding to re-sign D. Rose, which I think they should definitely consider, on top of maybe re-signing Taj Gibson, probably not to $14 million a year. We'll see what they end up doing. I wouldn't be surprised if they weren't huge on Taj Gibson, whoever the new guys are. I could see him actually getting moved by the deadline. I guess it would depend on where this team is at in playoff contention. I mean, if I can look up the standings real quick. They are 2 games out, so they're right in the thick of it. Anyway, that's about all I got. Wouldn't it be wild if it was Hoiberg who took the job? Like, him and Tibbs would be linked for life pretty much at that point.